Let me start with this. J.L. Warren, what is your unpopular opinion?
Oh, I have so many, but I would have to say probably my most unpopular opinion that's gotten me kicked out of a few parties is that Jesus Christ, if he actually existed, it was nothing more than the David Koresh of Iron Age Palestine.
I think I agree with you. You know, I was going to do something different, but no, I'm standing with you on this one, actually. I do think that's true. David Koresh literally walked around saying he was the Son of God, right? Jesus did the same thing.
Got his little band to follow, made his merry men together, and they wandered around doing their thing, and
had a fight with the ATF. I mean, they both did that. There's a lot of similarities.
Have you seen the He Gets Us ad campaign? It's a $100 million ad campaign whose focus is to spread the message of Jesus and his love and acceptance of others. When we look at the Bible, what does the He really get us? Well, let's talk about what Jesus and his spokespeople get us. He gets us to excuse misogyny, as you see in Ephesians 5, verse 22. He gets us to normalize hate. You see this in Proverbs 13:24. He gets us to practice bigotry, like you see in Leviticus chapter 20, verse 13. He gets us to ignore science. You see it in Mark chapter 10, verse 46 to 52. He gets us division. Matthew 10, 34 to 36, and in 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 14. I mean, bottom line, he gets us nowhere.
How many adults do you know that grew up in a household with parents that hated each other, but stayed together for the kids? How do those people look at marriage now? Most of them are single because marriage just seems like a horrible thing. You know how much trauma comes out of being in a household with two people that don't want to be together? And those are the people that are in charge of your life? That is very traumatic.
Yeah.
That's where arguments start. That's where abuse starts. I don't think divorce is the culprit here.
Hey, everybody. Steve Harvey, in response to, quote, an atheist is somebody who doesn't believe in God, quote, says, well, then to me, you're an idiot. So I'm cool with that. But if you don't believe in God, you got to have an explanation for all this. You can't tell me this is just spun out of a gaseous ball and that all of a sudden we were evolved from monkeys. Why we still got monkeys, end quote. This is kind of like saying if God made Adam from dust, why is there still dust? I mean, I don't
How do you make any knowledge judgments about it being more likely that God isn't deceiving you than it being more likely that he is? How do you know which one's more probable?
It's not demonstrated, so there is a data set of 0 for me to be able to even to say that would be the case. Like just like the infinite amount of other things, like ice cream is deceiving me. So there's no basis at all for me to believe that is true. We're not even talking probable over one over the other. Like I would have to literally list infinite amount of things that it could be and then give a probabilistic assessment. That doesn't make any sense from my position.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like I could just come up with anything. The Mortal Kombat arcade cabinet to me really, how do I know that this didn't create life? How do you know that I'm not God? Like these questions are just stupid to me. It's like, it doesn't seem like you actually want to have an intellectual conversation. You just want to say you don't know anything. And that's literally, I'm a fallibilist, so I'm okay with knowledge being fallible. So.
Hey folks, Objectively Dan here. Did you know that last month the Catholic Church blessed same-sex marriages? Well, they said blessings of same-sex unions is okay, but that doesn't actually mean they're okay with same-sex unions. They're not actually saying it's like a proper sacrament. It's all really complicated, but the point is people are kind of pissed about this and are threatening to leave the church. Which I guess isn't surprising, but I wish we kind of had this reaction whenever we had the, I don't know, millionth time that child abuse cover-ups were happening with the church. Like, I don't know why that reaction isn't quite the same.
This conversation could have been more interesting and constructive if it wasn't approached with skepticism and criticism. Rather, it would have been nice to have a little bit of curiosity and interest just to understand where I'm coming from. Because I never
tried to ask you like a whole bunch of times what you mean, just so we can understand you better.
If you're gonna come onto the show and complain about us being skeptical, you may have called the wrong show.
But
I
it
don't think a
happens.
10-year-old victim in Ohio should
Yeah.
be forced to give birth.
But that's what's happening with the current legislation, right? Is that they're being, as Jerome put it, forced to be giving birth.
I think the biggest issue that we're having right now, the disconnect, is you're not recognizing that that woman is a human being. That woman that's carrying that fetus, that's a person. What happens with her body should be her choice. That's what life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness really means, right? It's her choice, her body, her choice. That should be the end of the conversation. Even if you consider it murder, if I consider it not murder, it's not up to me and you. It's up to the person who's carrying the fetus. You can't walk into a hospital when somebody has a parasite on them and say, don't take that parasite off. That's murder. You're supporting its life. No, I don't want to.
Let's see what this voicemail has to say. Crew, we're ready.
I just want to let you know, once again, God says in his word, he says, only a fool would say that there's no God.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Comments.
Fool me once. Shame. fool me once, shame on you. You can't fool me again.
What's the difference between our modern day society and the advanced civilizations of the ancient past that we don't understand today? What's the big difference?
I don't think that there are super advanced civilizations in the past. I think that our modern civilization is more advanced than any civilization that has come before us.
And why don't we know how they built the pyramids and all the great mysteries that
we have a pretty good idea of how they built the pyramids.
I think you're in a little bit of denialism at the moment. Sorry, bud. Like stuff in the old world that we can't explain today and we can't replicate today.
You know, the fact that people point to like the pyramids, for example, is not a very compelling reason for, you know, people who have a background in sciences or engineering, because there are much more sophisticated systems that have been built since then. For instance, the ability to land on the moon, right? Which is like many decades old.
Watch the non-prophets and join the hosts in the live chat. Visit tiny.cc/ytnp.